Hello, Rickney video. Today we're gonna take a look at a team that got someone to legend already. I actually didn't expect that we get a legend already this fast into the season. I know it's like around 3 to 3.5 weeks usually for the first legend to appear in a season. But yeah, Vitor Leo from Brazil got to legend with this team. I'm not sure which Pokemon he uses as a save swap or how he plays his team directly. We know that they use Charm, Ninetales in Elite. But in general, this team, when I played it just now, worked out really well for me. I'm most likely going to play my final sets as well for this day with this team. Definitely a cool team that worked for me, but I'm still a little bit curious on how he plays his team because, for example, take a look at fire types like the Talonflame and look at this team and look how well it does against it. It's sometimes a little bit tricky to deal with some certain Pokemon with this team. There are some core weaknesses between the Ninetales and most likely the save swap of the Trevenant. Maybe he save swaps the Galarian Stunfisk, maybe he chooses the save swap depending on the Pokemon that he faces in Elite. I am not 100% sure. We have only confirmation that he got to legend with this team, so I wanted to try it out, and it definitely worked pretty well. Ninetales lead is really nice. Also, you see on the right side my IV Spirit. I have basically a horrible IV Spirit on 2 of my 3 Pokemon. Basically, also on the Stunfisk is also not the ideal one. Of course, you want to have 15-15-15. His Stunfisk was also best buddied, so yeah, there's a little bit of a weaker spot here on this team for me. But still, this team was a lot of fun to play, and also the battles went pretty quick. We have 11 battles in here in the Open Ultra League, and it was below 30 minutes of in-game time, which is kind of crazy. Like usually you have like 30 to 35 to 40 minutes with this team, with like in general Ultra League teams, but this one isn't as bulky as you might expect it to be. But yeah, in general, with this team, he most likely built it around the stuff that he saw in his kind of elo range. The thing is, if you're super high up in the elo range, which I also was before, like you're going to face the same people all over the time. They usually don't change the team either. So if you know what you face and you know how to beat it and you find like a way to beat it with a certain team, you don't really have to build for a general meta that you face, because you kind of know what you face if you remember who you were battling. And some people do spreadsheets and whatever, which is totally legal. Like, why are you not supposed to keep track of it? It doesn't make sense to make spreadsheets if you're on lower elo because you face way too many different opponents. But if you're in higher elo, like also when I was like rank 1 in the world season 3, I faced the same opponents 3 to 5 times a day. So I know what they're running, and I know that they changed their teams just to beat my team. And it's just how it is on top of the leaderboards, and I know that people are running spreadsheets and stuff like this. So yeah, this team mostly got built directly to counter some of the teams that if he's facing. He got a 14-0 win streak with this team. I got in 11 games now, I think, a 7-4 record, which is really good, like nothing to complain about. And let's take a little bit more of a look at this gameplay. Here we have a Toxicroak against us as well, which is a little bit horrible for us, to be honest. As we're going to go for a bait here, we have to get the shield bait correctly, and we do. They throw their charge move here immediately, which is amazing for us, because now we're going to be able to get some energy of him. And because the Alolan Mug would most likely outspeed me to the Dark Pulse, if I don't go for extra moves here, I kind of have to risk it and go for 2 more extra fast moves. Go for the Earthquake now, and I'm going to be able to destroy this Toxicroak, and they're actually going to surrender before I even tested out if I get to my move before, but I should have been. So like, yeah, that's fine. But here we have, for example, have a core breaker for our lead and our save swap. Both the Trevenant and the Ninetales are completely horrible against Crobat. This thing would be able to just stay in, to be honest, but they're actually going to go into their Walrein. For the Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball is a little bit better, I think, than one Seed Bomb, but it doesn't really matter as we go into our Ninetales anyway, and we want to get some more farm. They're always going to get to an Earthquake. They're always going to get not to another move here, so I don't think that this was really a misplay. It actually more helped me here, as I'm going to be able to go for 1 more Weather Ball. And now we can swap into our Stunfisk. They're going to go ahead and farm up a lot of energy, so I'm going to shield up the potential Shadow Ball here. And it's going to be a Shadow Ball, which is then a nice shield, but of course, they're running something in the back that hardwalls me again. So, like, yeah, there was nothing that I can redo in this game. There is literally nothing that I can redo in this game. There is one play that I can still do here, but this is really depending on the opponent. I have to shield here because I'm getting already low and even the power punch is going to hurt me. And I have to hope that they're going to somehow shield this move up, expecting me to go for the Earthquake, but they didn't, and they go down to my Ninetales. And now I don't get to 2 Rock Slides in time. So maybe I could have played out a little bit differently as well, seeing the damage from the Ninetales, trying to let them farm me down a little bit more there, which would have resulted in the opponent not getting as much farm there. So I could have played this out a little bit better as well if I really concentrated, but so be it. We see another Warren in the lead, which is pretty fine for the Ninetales. You should mainly win this matchup, I'm pretty sure. You can shield up the first one. It's always going to be an Earthquake. There's no way the Warren going to bait you. I kind of want to keep some energy or some health alive from my Ninetales here. We can go for one. So what's called Psyshock. I don't think this should be an Earthquake, but it actually was, which really surprised me. I thought he would go down before he gets an Earthquake. And here we see the next issue, which I already talked about earlier. Talonflame. What do you do against Talonflame? I am not sure. I can go into my Stunfisk here, and we can see that they go into their Venusaur on the back, which also not going to be the easiest matchup. We're going to bait here with a Rock Slide. We would be able to survive at least one Flame Charge from the Talonflame, but of course if they swap, they swap. We can go for one big Earthquake here, getting the final shield as well, which is nice because now we might be able to hit a Shadow Ball against the incoming Talonflame later on. But of course I also didn't really pay too much attention, didn't really keep track of the energy. I'm not sure if this was a direct throw, if they had some extra energy, so it's going to be a little bit tough to catch later on. But does it really matter? We have to see. We can like at least go for one more Shadow Ball here. Maybe I could have survived one more fast move as well, and I would have been able to go for one more fast move for myself. But it doesn't really matter. We tried to catch, didn't work out. We can still go for one Shadow Ball. Is this enough to KO a Venusaur? It seems like it, but it was exactly 1 HP away from dying, so any point where I could have done something a little bit better would have helped me to win the game. But like this was a very narrow loss, as we see next opponent having a Ninetales in the lead here. We with our shiny Ninetales here going to definitely outflex them, as we can go ahead and go for one Psyshock, getting the shield. I'm also going to shield here. The main reason for this is after the Psyshock here, my opponent and I'm like not in a range where you really can farm them down with any of your Pokemon in the backline. So what we're going to do here is now going into our Trevenant. They go into their Giratina, which is okay for us, and we can go and farm up extra energy. I didn't expect that this would be already a Shadow Sneak, but it was, and we see a Nidoqueen coming in. We're going to farm up extra. We have 2 Seed Bombs stored now, and those Seed Bombs going to come in handy later on, as we see an Earth Power coming through here, and I'm going to throw perfectly on the wrong timing against this Nidoqueen, as they go for one Poison Fang still, and I try to undercharge here. Didn't work out, was still too much damage. I actually thought it would do less, and we are now in a tough spot. We can go ahead and go for an Earthquake here. Going to put him into like a yellow health. If we can get still to the rock side, that would be cool, and we actually can still get there, which means now we can swap out into our Trevenant, go for a double Seed Bomb, and we can win this game pretty easily here, as we win CMP anyway, and they did not expect the double Seed Bomb from me. So good game there to my opponent. This is going to be a very nice battle there, as we see a Cresselia in the lead. Cresselia is not the worst lead for you, but of course you have a Ghost type and a Steel type in the back, so I guess that the backline is a little bit better. If we kind of want to get out the potential Scrafty for our G-Fisk in the back, we're of course going to go into our Trevenant to bait this thing out, but we actually get a Steel type here with the Galarian Stunfisk against us, which is pretty amazing for us, as this thing cannot really win back switch advantage here, and we can go for one Shadow Ball and we can actually get switch and shield advantage, which is amazing for us, of course, as there's nothing that they can do about it. We're of course out of energy. They go into their own Trevenant and we can go into our Cresselia. You see a little bug there actually on the screen, which is funny, which I never seen before, to be honest. So I also make a screenshot there, like, how is there still like this shadow animation thingy there? I'm not sure. But yeah, we see here Earthquake coming through, putting them at half health. We see that they don't have a Grass Knot, which means they only have not very effective moves with the future side here. We can go ahead and go for another Earthquake. And at this point, we should be able to just farm this thing all the way down. there's not a lot that they can do. They actually swap out into their Trevenant. I can go for on Rock Slide here, which puts them into a range where I can easily farm them down with Charm, and they decide to surrender. Next opponent here, we're going to see that they're going to have an Empoleon in the lead. And here I make a misplay. I should have went into my Stunfisk instead, because my Stunfisk is the worst swap against it. And of course they have a perfect answer against Trevenant in the back with the Mandibuzz. Of course, that's something that I most likely would have played differently if I kinda knew the team, and I kinda knew the team already at this point of time. But yeah, like if you would go into the Stunfisk, at least you would get some shields, you would get like damage on that Pokemon. But if you go into your Trevenant, you basically get hardwalled here, and there's not a lot that I can do here really, as we see that this thing goes for my aerial aces. We're gonna get the Empoleon back out of there, and we can go into our Stunfisk. They stay in for a little bit, of course, as they actually, I think, beat us in the 2 shields, but I'm not 100% sure. It's going to be a little bit of a toughie here, as we can go for a Rock Slide bait. We have to bait at this point. We are so far behind in this game. We have to hope that our Ninetales can deal with whatever they have in the back. But I have definitely a strange feeling about what they have in the back. It's most likely going to be a Pokemon that we have on our own team as well, which is going to be also their Ninetales. And at this point there is not a lot that I can do. I don't know if I went for one Rock Slide there and put them into a range where my own Ninetales could have KO'd them. This helped me at anything? I'm not sure, I don't think so. We're going to go down here, and this is going to be a good game. I could have played it differently. Imagine I went into my Stunfisk. They kind of have to stay in there because both of the Pokemon in the back couldn't deal with it either. So yeah, then the game would have been a little bit differently, but like this, we're going to lose this game. We see a Shadow Drapion here in the lead. The cool thing about Shadow Drapion for us is it doesn't like Charm still. Even though it's a Poison type, it's still a Dark type. And because it's a Shadow Pokemon, you're going to do more damage. And this damage going to add up significantly. As you're going to actually see now a Nidoqueen coming in. And if they shield this, we can go straight into our Stunfisk. We survive on Earth Power easily. And we can go for an Earthquake. But my opponent decides to just surrender immediately. Next opponent, we have a Nidoqueen in the lead. Horrible lead, we swap out into a Trevenant. Horrible say swap, we see a Obstagoon. And I have a strange feeling about what they have in the back. And you can guess it already if you want to. If they have an Obstagoon and if they have a Nidoqueen in the lead, there is usually a Scrafty in the back, which would be a hard wall to our team again. Let's see if we are right with this, because yeah, we can go for the Charm down now. We can let this move go through. It's going to be a Obstruct actually. We can go for one more Charm. We can swap into our Stunfisk, and they swap into our Scrafty. And this is the Ultra League for you. Just getting hardwalled. Next opponent, we see another Ninetales here. It's also going to be the final battle already. We can go ahead and Charm this thing down. And you actually see like something weird in this battle. I guess because of the CP of the opponent, it's a little bit low, even though they're best buddied. I don't know if they have all the XL can yet, but we're going to shield up the move as well. And unlike the battles that we had before with Ninetales versus Ninetales, we can actually get to another Weather Ball in time before we get KO'd. But also they don't get KO'd. I'm not sure why. But we will be able to now realign our Pokemon. We see the Politoed in the back. And what we also know about Politoed is it likes to run Blizzard right now because of all those grass types you want to counter, about like also the Dragonite that you can counter with this. So we're going to shield up here. It's going to be a Blizzard. And at this time we can just go for Seed Bombs. And if they do shield this, they're most likely weak to us on the back. We can go for another Seed Bomb and KO them. And it's going to be Swampert. So we're going to be able to win the final match here. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I see you in the next one. Bye!